What's up, nerds? Tony and Jerry with you tonight from Them Nerds to talk about What If, episode number 9?
9.
The finale.
Yeah, 9.
9. The finale. The end. It's done. No,
What
it's
if?
not. It's coming back.
Yeah. What if the Watcher broke his oath?
What if he did? What if he did? He did.
Yes.
And
Ish.
he assembled, as Jerry and I both have as our backgrounds here this evening. They assembled the Guardians of the Multiverse.
Yeah, he basically just like Match.com them.
He was kind of a dick about it.
Yeah.
He was like, punk ass Thor with a tattoo, you're chosen. Emo
Star-Lord T'Challa, the kidnapped child.
Yeah.
Swipe right.
Yeah. T'Challa's like, what the hell is going on? Smashed him. And then the big rope-a-dope here, we were talking about it. We also got Gamora, Slayer of Thanos, who got snatched away from Tony Stark, who was in some really cool armor.
Yeah.
Like, we never got to see that one. Why?
Yes. Another, mishap of coronavirus. Insert Cardi B's coronavirus meme right here. Was that this episode wasn't able to be finished, so we never got to see the Gamora versus with Tony Stark, defeating Thanos. And so it was kind of one of those things where you saw it. It's like, it's cool to see, but you're like, well, why is she here? Like, where's Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, or the litany of just the head Scott Pym or whatever his name is, Scott Lang. Like, there's all these people you could have picked from, but you give us a character that there was no backstory for.
Right. And I'm mad that we didn't get that story. I hope they finish that and put it in season 2.
That's the rumor on the street. But my question is it needed? I don't know. Like, you completed this whole story. Is there a point to go back and revisit something you've already completed?
I don't know.
I guess it only matters if you plan on going further with these characters, which obviously there's going to be some mishaps with that.
Yeah. I want to see it. I want to see it because we get that glimpse of them in the, I can't remember the name of that forge that they have in the intergalactic forge.
With the guy with his
Tyrion Lannister. Yes, Tyrion Lannister.
Yes.
Except big. The galaxy's largest little person.
Yes.
A 12-foot tall dwarf. They show him and he's forging this thing, and you see Gamora in this badass armor, and she's got Thanos's dual glaive, and then you see Tony Stark in this kind of like Hulkbuster style, like bigger, like bulkier armor, and it's like all graffitied and stuff, and like it looks like it's been through some shit. Like, that was cool.
Yeah, and he kind of makes mention of it when he grabs Gamora. He says Sakaar, which is obviously the planet where Thor and Hulk battled it out, and the graffiti that's on Iron Man's cost or Hulkbuster outfit matches up to that. And it does make sense because we saw this glimpse of Jeff Goldblum's character for like a half a second. Obviously he was meant to be more in the series. We probably would have saw more of him. Right.
Yeah, he was in the Party Boy Thor episode just
Scoot,
for a quick minute. Yeah. Scoot. That's such a good episode. Yeah, and so the Guardians of the Multiverse get snatched out of their various realities in a very abrupt manner by Watcher, and they all end up in a pub with emo Doctor Strange, and they're told that they're going to go and fight Ultron, who happens to have Infinity Stones in his chest, and looks really cool, by the way.
Yeah.
That's an action figure I'd really like to have if they come out with like a Black Series,
100%.
Black Series of Star Wars, but
a nice version of toys.
Yes, a grown up adult version
You know, and what I thought was kind of odd about that scene is it really didn't take much for them to jump on board. You know what I mean?
No,
They just give him a name, and Peggy's like, "We're in." I guess she just speaks for everybody now.
Yep. It was, they only have 30 minutes.
Yeah. And then they basically just come up with a plan over Uber Eats Chinese food.
Yes. Who knew that Uber Eats delivered to the multiverse?
Yeah, the way I hear people complain all the time about how people aren't working and so they can't get their food delivered. Who knew they delivered all the way into a multiverse?
Hey,
that's why they're late, fools.
Yeah. So they're on their way. They're out here to go tackle Ultron, and it's seemingly going quite well, actually.
Yeah, you get to Party Thor really gets to tell everybody how he attracts people to him, and he's having a good scene where I thought was actually one of the cool scenes with the lightning striking down and everything else, and they really just go in and give him the what for. You have Killmonger and Gamora be phased out of there by the Watcher to you don't know where, and then you see the rest of them doing their thing, and T'Challa and Peggy end up being able to overtake Ultron and use sticky fingers to walk away with one of his stones.
Right. And this alternate Gamora has an Infinity Stone crusher. She got a special machine that's what they were making out there in space. So
one of the coolest parts before you get to the crusher, though, is that we get to see the zombies come back, and you get to see the battle between during Endgame we got to see Wanda versus Thanos, and in this one you get to actually see pretty much a shot for shot kind of version of Wanda versus Ultron, but she's zombie Wanda. You take a whiskey drink. And it was and they start battling it out, and you see that zombie Wanda, that's really hard to say if you really think about it.
It is.
Is maybe not as equipped as just batshit crazy Wanda from WandaVision.
Right. Yeah, not quite there yet.
Yeah.
The lack of a working prefrontal cortex probably prevents her from being very effective. I will say though, that was one of the coolest shots of the show, was the opening up of that portal and then just like a deluge of zombies.
Yes.
Just coming down on top of Ultron.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, that last, it is hard to say, zombie Wanda shot.
Whiskey drink. You take a vodka drink.
Right.
Zombie Wanda.
Yes. 90s one-hit wonders, Zumbawamba. She hits him with her blasts and allows everybody to kind of get away. Then we end up back in the wasteland environment that we saw in the episode where Black Widow and Hawkeye were left behind. They were the last two people on Earth, and they went and recovered the Arnim Zola AI in order to infect Ultron with it. So we get back there, and there's a little bit of a tense standoff. She doesn't know who these people are, whatever, blah blah blah. And then going along with the rest of the episode, she very easily just kind of says, "Oh, whatever, yeah, that's what we're doing here, I guess." Because Peggy is like, "We have friends," and she's like, "Of course we are." Okay.
She's she hit her with some real British folklore from the Spice Girls and told her about girl power, and it ended up overcoming things. They spiced up their life.
That's right. Yes, they braided each other's hair right there in the midst of battle. No, they didn't.
Some people may call this a spice world, but they end up fighting together. But what ends up happening? Killmonger once again double crosses everybody, and he's just like says some kind of thing like poetically, like he's Tupac, and he's like, "Wouldn't you like to make Wakanda better? Wouldn't you like to make Asgard better?" And then he's just like, "Well, all right, then you guys are on your own. Peace out." And then he makes himself this cool looking Ultron kind of costume, and you end up seeing Ultron And oh, maybe I skipped ahead though, didn't I? Because I skipped the whole part where
Yeah. So yes, before Killmonger did what Killmonger does, uh, we had kind of a win. In now the episode where Clint sacrificed himself. Um, I dubbed that moment the coolest shot of the show. This episode changed that. The coolest shot of the show for me, and you know, you can argue with me if you like, it's the internet, be my guest, is when Black Widow is flying through the air off the back of the motorcycle again with the arrow, and the virus loaded into the arrow with the Arnim Zola AI and the virus in there. And it just goes perfectly right into Ultron's eyeball.
With a little help from Peggy Carter.
A little help from Peggy. Yes. Girl power.
Yes. Girl power. She was Black Widow was Ginger Spice to Peggy Carter's Posh.
That's right. So Ultron starts to fail because of Arnim Zola. The armor starts falling apart. The stones start falling out. And then Scary Spice, a.k.a. Killmonger, decides that
Zigzag wow.
He's been eyeballing the helmet, that Ultron helmet, the whole time. And it was some good foreshadowing, I think, showing that, because he's looking at it and he sees that it's, he sees the power in it. And he decides that he's going to take it for himself. And like you said, he poses that question to the rest of the team, like, wouldn't you like to go back and make something better? Like, he's talking to Doctor Strange, like, I know you would. He looks at Thor, like, wouldn't you like to protect Asgard? He looks at Peggy, and in the true lineage of Captain America, to Captain Carter here, she's posed with that really tempting proposal, like, wouldn't you like to go back and be with Steve? Like, wouldn't you like to go back and do this? And they all say no, they don't want to. And he says, all right, well, screw you then. And then there's a standoff there, right?
Run the Jules plays. Run the Jules play. Oh, that's the wrong movie.
They have a standoff between Killmonger, who's attempting to keep the armor, and Arnim Zola, who is kind of controlling the other part of the Ultron armor, and they're going back and forth trying to fight over both the armor and the stones. And Doctor Strange has an epiphany. No, we're not meant to defeat them. We're meant to stop them, like, in time, right? So he locks him down in his galactic timeout corner. And the Watcher basically says, like, hey, Strange, you got nothing going on for all of eternity. You mind watching these guys? And he's like, sure, what are friends for?
Yeah, sure, I'll just get more powerful while I'm here.
Sure. Yeah, can we just skip back a moment and acknowledge that Doctor Strange turned into a goddamn Lovecraftian tentacle monster?
Yeah.
Just. It was great.
Yeah.
It was really good. I want to see more of, like, the emo Doctor Strange. If the rumors are true and we're going to see this version of him in the live action, the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, if there's this version of him that's similar to this or goes along with this in live action, I would be stoked. I'm a Lovecraft guy. I'm wearing a freaking Cthulhu shirt right now. I loved it. I love that part. So the big sort of cliffhanger, or not really a cliffhanger, but the kind of like, hey, look what we have to look forward to in season 2. We got some Peggy. How do we end up with Peggy?
Peggy goes back to the timeline she was already on, and basically she's like, why don't you send me back home to her original timeline? She's done or whatever. And he says, no, there's more waiting for you. When we see her back on the battleship, and Black Widow tells her that they find the armor that Steve wore, and then breaks it to her that there's somebody inside of it, very similar to the Winter Soldier.
Yes. Yeah, we get the sort of hope that we're going to see Steve again. Of course, it's going to be, skinny Steve.
Yeah.
But he's got a robot armor.
Or is he? I mean, if he's lived all this time, maybe he got the Russian serum.
That's true. Yeah, we don't
know.
Then
you see T'Challa. He's now with Quail, and they are building their own kind of Guardians of the Galaxy battle with each other, fighting things. And then you get to the very last person to go back, and that is, you see Thor end up back with Jane, and, just finishing up the storylines that we've seen throughout the course of the 9 episodes. And then you get to Black Widow, who's lost her world. Her world's done. She's the last person on Earth. She's not going back. And the Watcher says to her, basically, it wasn't much of a choice. I'm going to send you back. And so he sends her back through this door, and she lands on top of a helicarrier. And when you see the helicarrier, you see Nick Fury and you see Captain America fighting. And she's like, where is this place? And he said, this is a planet that lost its widow, which made me think, are we in the MCU?
It's possible. I kind of thought that too as soon as I saw Captain America. But then, like, the death of, spoilers, the death of Black Widow in the MCU and the death of Captain America in the MCU, or at least like
the old age,
his decrepitness.
Yeah,
like they seem to be like so closely related in time. I don't know how that would work out, but
yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not the MCU that as we know it, because you have Steve Rogers, he's still young. Loki, is some kind of ruler. I'm guessing maybe this is that planet where he became the ruler. I think it was episode 2. And you have Captain Marvel that's there also. Right. So, and she was not brought back yet, but it did give the possibility that maybe we haven't seen the end of this character, especially now that negotiations have gone so well.
Hey, that's true. Yeah, if it could be a very, the multiverse theory basically says that like there's like infinitely splintering universes that rest side by side. So it's not impossible to think that we could get an animated version of the MCU that's just a hair off of the actual MCU.
Yeah.
So that'd be good. I'm hoping, and I'll ask you this question too. What are you hoping for in season 2? I'm hoping that we see stories that involve some characters that we don't know yet.
I have the same hope.
What's that?
I have the same hope.
Yeah. I would love to see, like, by the time the next season of this comes out, I would assume we would have already seen Ms. Marvel on screen. I think we will have seen Moon Knight on screen by the time season 2 rolls around. So it would be cool to see some of that stuff explored. There are so many characters that have been in the MCU, but are just like such tiny little parts that, we haven't really explored. It would be cool to have an episode with Agatha. We were talking about Agatha earlier today. It would be cool to have an episode focusing on Wu. Maybe the Agents of Atlas would be kind of a cool one to go with.
It might be awesome too. A lot of people have this really nostalgic feeling over Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. If you were able to do a what if, and you brought in some of the characters from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. using that series, or using the original characters from the series into the MCU, I think you would give a lot of fanfare and a lot of hope to the people who really love those characters.
I agree. I think that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had some really great moments with some really great characters, and I think it just kind of suffered from the disconnect between, Marvel Films and ABC, and it just didn't. It never worked out. I mean, we already had Phil Coulson, your favorite,
best actor ever.
I know, and those folks at home, you can't see it because of the camera angle, but just to Jerry's right is a life-size portrait of Phil Coulson hanging on the wall that Jerry prays to at night.
Yeah, I painted it myself with my body.
Oh man! But yeah, no, like Agent.
It's interpretive,
right? Yes.
Yeah, stand way back.
You have to
And
squint one eye.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Ward and Quake and May, you know, not to mention Fitz and Simmons. There's just so many great characters from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that it would be really cool to see them on here, even if it's just for, a few episodes of the animated stuff.
Like they could even do like one like what if Inhumans wasn't a flaming pile of crap?
What if Inhumans had an actual special effects budget instead of girl in a really bad red wig?
Yeah. What if they didn't spend all the money on craft services and actually put it to?
Oh, man. I think the Inhumans would actually be a really cool thing to bring in because they already exist in the MCU, and it would be cool to do right by them on, in here.
I think that what we saw with this whole series, right, is the idea that there's characters that they're going to use, stories that they've created through this series that will make it onto the big screen. So you could have things like the Inhumans, where they had a really crappy story put out there on ABC that you could rework in an animated series that you tell their story through that, and then they just make their way into the movies, and you never have to speak about their backstory again.
Yep.
One of the best things that most people who love comics is the X-Men, the animated series from the 90s. You did something like that with the X-Men, and that you just have the people who are actually going to be them voice the characters, and then they make it onto the big screen. You saved yourself a ton of money by not having to do a feature film. And you also got all the Michigas out of the way.
Nice.
Thanks.
It's not an episode of Them Nerds without a little Yiddish.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd be into that. So, what's next on Disney Plus? What's the next thing we're getting?
Hawkeye next month.
That's right. Hawkeye is looking good. It's going to be a good show, I think. Lots of stuff to be introduced. We'll do another show all about that. We don't need to, mash two things up here together. What if we stayed on topic for one show?
Yeah. I think the saddest thing that came from this whole thing, other than it being over with, is just the idea that they did announce yesterday that the original plan was that T'Challa was going to get his own series spun off of this. And that obviously, it was being planned and developed all the way up till they found out Chadwick Boseman had passed away. And so you had the idea that, this story could have continued on. This character that everybody loves could have been seen in a whole different light. And so I think that that's the one thing that is, the disappointment from, seeing the greatness that was this episode, that we could have had even something even better.
Right. Yeah. I think there was a lot of mileage in the galaxy hopping kind of bandit sort of version of T'Challa. And I think that they did such a good job bringing Killmonger back into the fold. And that brief interaction there at the end where he was like, "Cousin, what are you doing?" And he was like, "I'm not your cousin."
Yeah.
Like they could easily make that a whole crossover thing. Star-Lord T'Challa and his crew trying to go to Wakanda and put things right. That could have been great. Unfortunately, things happen.
Coming to Wakanda.
Yes. Only if they have the theme song. Yeah.
Living in Wakanda.
That's the one.
Yep.
That's it. All right. Well, we will be talking about Hawkeye. We will be talking about some other things, and we're going to do it right here on YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on social media, We Them Nerds, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Gerald, anything else for the good of the order?
No, just a reminder that this is your last chance to win this Shang-Chi Funko Pop. Like, subscribe, and comment below for a chance to win it. Be there, be square. If you want your shelves to look boring, that's on you.
Yeah. I guess if you just want pathetic empty shelves, then whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you could have this Shang-Chi Funko Pop right next to your hand-painted Phil Coulson portrait. Sure, hands. That's what it was.
Amazing. Good season.
Great season.
All right, folks. Hey, be good. Be good to each other.
Stay nerdy.
Later, nerds.
Later.